My name is Josie Rice. I'm one of Dr. Lofton's PhD students, and today I talked about nitrate toxicity in grain sorghum. One of the biggest things that I touched on is how much sampling matters and the levels at which we sample matter. Those nitrates tend to accumulate in the bottom 6 to 12 inches of that plant, so we want to be very proactive. If we're going to graze that low or cut hay that low, we want to make sure to include those parts in that nitrate sample. I also talked about kind of how it forms the same way in the plant as it does in cattle in the rumen. It goes from nitrate to eventually nitrite, converting to ammonium, and then eventually to protein. However, when it gets in that rumen, it gets stuck at nitrite, and that's when we start to see issues because it's accumulating those nitrites faster than the rumen can get rid of them. So then it binds to, normally it goes through hemoglobin, but then it binds to that, it actually turns into methemoglobin, and that is what causes the oxygen deprivation, because when you get methemoglobin, it can't effectively carry oxygen through the bloodstream, and that is what causes that suffocation for nitrate toxicity. Looking at grazing, some of the biggest thing I have to hit on is test. That is the surefire way to avoid nitrate toxicity. Another thing is just being proactive in the field. If we get if we're in a drought and it's followed by a heavy rain, we're going to want to delay grazing by 7 days, as that's when those nitrates can really build. Cloudy conditions, things like that, we want to watch for. Those can tend to be higher nitrate builder environmental conditions. So you can run into that issue at if you're cutting for hay during those cloudy conditions, things like that. Those nitrates can tend to be higher in those plants. So we want to be proactive, and if we are going to hay that, maybe go ahead and get a sample first before we hay that. So then if not, maybe we can turn to ensiling that or something like that along those lines, because that can decrease that nitrate toxicity if we're ensiling. If people have questions, they can contact their county educator. I'm sure they'll be more than happy, and if they don't know the answer, they can probably get with one of the state specialists and we can get you the information.